pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is José Pereira. I'm a partner at Kairos. We're a fund that's focused on sports, entertainment, and gaming. Let's start with a quick round of introductions, and then we can get started talking about gaming and Web3. Bertrand.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. I'm Bertrand Levy. I'm running the global partnerships for the SANDBOX. So everything that we have two sections in the SANDBOX, our virtual world, is a B2C section, when as an individual you can come, buy a land, create everything, and there's a B2B section when you have like today 400 B2B partners, it's like Gucci, Warner, Adidas, Ubisoft, Snoop Dogg, etc.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Fabio. Thanks for having me. I'm with Blueverse Ventures. We are a venture capital fund coming from a bit of a traditional background, and we've evolved into where we started, but I've evolved personally into blockchain and AI, basically the emerging technologies, which we hope will form the next generation of the internet. So we started as Metaverse, because back then, 3-4 years ago, Metaverse was the next generation of the internet. But Metaverse has been a bit of a toxic word now. Almost like crypto, I was going to say, but it's very much for us the next generation of the internet, and that includes obviously an element of decentralization, empowering users and obviously gamers, which is what we'll talk about today, and an element of immersion. So that's really our North Star, where we're headed, and Web3 and Web3 gaming is a strong component of our thesis, if you like, because there are about 1 billion gamers out there in the world. So and gaming has traditionally driven innovation and incubated a lot of technologies that became mainstream eventually. So that's a sector we are quite keen and have a lot of conviction on.
Fantastic. So just to frame the conversation, we're going to have two different perspectives. Fabio, you from the investor, and Bertrand from the business operational company side. I think one of the main features of Web3 gaming is monetization for players. So what do you think, or what, in your opinion, are the latest trends in terms of just simply how gamers can make money? What are the latest in that side?
So from a SANDBOX perspective, our virtual world is combined by more than 166,000 different lands. So quite a lot, and we're trying to have the best user experience possible. So we're focusing on the product itself, SANDBOX as a product, to have it like more enhanced, more technology coming, more, and looking, of course, of a lot of AI and everything that is coming that could help creators. Creators is a strong focus for us. It's like giving the power to the end user to have them becoming a creator. So as I told you, everyone can acquire land into the SANDBOX. And thanks to our two very intuitive and no-code tools, you can create whatever you want. So we have a first one that's called a Vox Edit, which let's say that you want to create a house and a tree and road, you can do this. Very intuitive, no code again. And then we have another one, it's called a Game Maker. Once you have done this house and trees and roads, you can just like drag and drop them into that tool, and it create automatically a 3D virtual world with digital assets that are NFTs inside. And so that's a very easy way for everyone to create world and earn money out of your creation. Another example I can give you, you want to create a car. Let's say you have you take one square, 4 round. At the end, you will have that car. You customize it so it won't look like another one. And once you're happy with what you have on the screen, you just have a button, create, you push it, will automatically create an asset that is an NFT. So as an end user, as a creator, you can say, okay, I have this new car, and I want to create, let's say, 100 copies of those and sell each one for $50. And then you can earn money out of it. You will keep 95% of the revenues.
95%, that's
yes.
Huge. If I may pull a thread before we go to you, Fabio. When you said creator, you have two sides, right? You have the gamer, and then you have the IP, the brands, Snoop Dogg.
Right.
How are you making the distinction in terms of the opportunity? Can you explain us a bit more about how you split the business between the business to consumer and business to business?
So as I told you, we have 400 B2B partners.
Yeah.
Out of 166,000 lands, we sold 150,000. So that will give you also a sense of how many B2C, how many B2B we have. There is 400 between 150,000 different lands. So a lot of focusing on B2C. But of course, to answer your question more precisely, one of the good news, if you're a B2C user, an end user, then you can go to all the creativity that you want. You know, you have no restriction. When it comes to brands, and we guide the brand as much as possible, you know, you need, of course, to have the DNA of the brand, the environment of the brand. Even though they like to be as creative as possible, there's a limitation about what they can do, of course, you know. But then there's the power of the brand, there's the power of as an artist, you know. I always so often say that, but it's an example that's really relevant with Snoop Dogg. You know, we made 3 activations with him, and the first one is we sold 1,000 tickets at $1,000 each for an upcoming show. It's Avatar playing in front of avatars. So it's $1 million of tickets sold in 20 minutes. We have recreated virtually his mansion, create a VIP area, sold 5,000 VIP pass, $500, $2.5 million, 30 minutes. And of course, it's a rapper, you know, it's Snoop Dogg, it's famous, but you can do a lot about this. We're trying, and when it comes to like Gucci or Warner, you know, we signed also Lacoste recently. You know, they are very creative people, though, so they want to take the advantage of the virtual world. And taking the example of Gucci is an interesting one, because they came to us as the first discussion that we had. They said, we're #1 fashion company in the world. Fashion is our core business, what we do. So when we're going to enter the virtual world, we just don't want to do any fashion. Take the advantage of the virtual world. You know, there's no scale.
Okay. There's
no, you know, it's only pixels. So if you want to do something in the sky, underneath the water, you know, whatever, you can do it. You know, so, and I think it's a good path, you know, to think that this virtual world can be something else than what you're doing. Could be an extension of also of what you're doing, but something really different.
Understood. Fabio, to you, again, what are you seeing in terms of the biggest opportunity for a player to monetize real-time gaming? And second, from the investor perspective, when you're looking at companies building these solutions, what are the main things that you look out for?
Sorry, the first part of the question?
So the first is, in terms of trends, narratives, what are you seeing in terms of new ways for players to make money?
Sure. Clearly, during the 2021 bull run, I mean, P2E, play to earn, was, you know, the big thing, and that was something that was exciting us. And ever since then, we have seen the technology not quite catching up, obviously because of some scalability issues, and also potentially the trends were driven by technologists, experts, and not so much by players on a wider scale. So I think what we need to see is people actually wanting this technology, and that since then we've seen the rise of generative AI, for example, and that's catching everybody's attention because it's creating content virtually for free or cost-free. So that has bypassed, you know, the massive trend of 2021. So this is something we've been looking at in terms of content creation. In terms of content monetization, how we make money as a creator or as a gamer. Sometimes they can be the same people. The rub needs to hit the road still, and we're not quite there yet. And we have seen gamers acting more as investors / speculators, almost. And I think that has crowded the message, the initial beautiful message, which was taking back control, if we can use such a phrase here. I'm coming from the UK, but really owning some assets, owning back some gameplay, some governance, even. So that was a big promise, and we're still, hoping for that. So in terms of the trends, socially and economically, I mean, we're still, hoping for that. In terms of the technology, like I said, Gen AI is the talk of town. Having said that, developers are listening to consumers and gamers a little bit more. I think we see less jargon. I think it's time for developers, studios, most importantly indie studios, which we tend to work with those guys because they need early financing. It's to move away from the crypto and you know, the DeFi a little bit and the speculation, and going back to the roots of let's make a game that's fun to play and that people actually want to play. And then let's have the DeFi later. I think that's the trends I've seen on the ground. A little bit back to more gaming, less DeFi. And at some point, the two will merge, but it can't happen at the same time. In terms of what, and I'll be quick, in terms of investors, what we look for, the fundamentals, you know, a great team. What is a great team? I mean, they have a track record. Ideally, they have a track record in both gaming and blockchain. It's quite hard. We've seen some veterans in gaming coming to us and with great game ideas, and they've been fantasizing and daydreaming about Metaverse for a long time. So it's close to their heart. And they have seen recently the corruption, if you like, of the ideal of owning the assets and, you know, taking back some stuff from the publishers. And on the other hand, we've seen blockchain people going to gaming where the gameplay is not as developed, it's not as smart, it's not as evolved, you know, as the gaming veterans might have. So it's ideally they have a track record on both, and they are great in building partnership. This thing, you know, can't happen. You can't make it happen on your own. You have to collaborate. It's a collaborative effort. So you need to talk to all the blockchain providers, you know, whether it's Sol, Immutable, you know, and you know, Ethereum and so on, to really decide what's the pros and cons of what blockchain is best, depending on the gameplay, depending on the demographies and the demographics of their potential users. So we look at that. We look at the community, obviously, how they engage the community, how they build up the community. And that's even more important with, you know, the meme coin era, and I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point later on. But there's a lot of sentiment going into this, and we're moving away from the fundamentals. And as a VC, as an investor, it's quite important to stay aware and abreast of, you know, the sentiment of the market, which is how many emojis, you know, is that a funny meme, and what captures in that moment, you know, the mood of the market. I think these are it's balancing the fundamentals, growth, profits, you know, like typical VC matrix with the more, I was going to say short-term / speculative, but sentimental, you know, market sentiment.
How do you approach the actual investing in terms of separating the equity from the token side? How do you look at a studio that is launching multiple tokens versus a studio eventually going public? Like, how do you see on the financial side Web3 gaming becoming more like Web2? Like, if you compare with big studios that go public or Electronic Arts, Activision, how do you see that coming, and how does launching a token affect that on the long term? The big studio going public, for example, or the exiting of the equity side.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember CDs. Well, I'm actually old enough to remember cassettes. So cassettes, CDs, and then Napster, then Spotify. So I think the music industry is quite a good example, and I think Bertrand comes from that world. You come from that world. So we've seen the phasing in of technologies into the industry. And gaming is going through the same, as an industry is going through the same. So you have the traditional publishers, and then you have the mavericks, you know, the guy who wants to actually disrupt more than gaming. They want to disrupt an entire economy. I mean, they think of themselves as emerging digital nations, and we like that. You know, it's creating an economy, it's creating the tools for governance and so on. So we're not going to go from one world to the next without a transition. And the transition might be, and I think will be, the emerging studios and you know, the SANDBOXes of the world being a bit more, like I said, a little bit less on the crypto and more around actually we need to give a simple tool to the gamers, because it's like we came with a Swiss knife 2 years ago and said you can do all these things, but actually do one thing well. And why is it good for you to do this thing? Why is it important for you to own your assets and your swords and so on? And I think for the developers, for the publishers, I think inevitably, and they've started doing it, they have to adopt and start to roll out the features that some gamers, traditional gamers, will want. And it's a tough act. It's a balancing act, because you have the demographics and the geographies. I mean, it's almost like global north and global south. You know, we see with Axie during COVID. You know, it was a way of earning a living for some people to
Yeah.
actually play those games. Whereas for us, for the global north, like Western economies, it's more about still playing a game that's super popular. So I think we'll see a bit of emerging and more talk, and obviously some M&A developments, which is obviously what we're hoping for as an investor.
No, but I agree about what you said, about the users. They need, at the end, they want fun, when it talks, or when, you said about there was a lot of investors, coming versus gamers, is absolutely true. One of the things is when you look at the new generation coming that are playing Roblox, there are digital natives, that even and sometimes have a little bit of cryptos, and they will shift from Roblox, when you're up to 13 and you're still in Roblox, you're a kid, so you're growing. And there's the next generation that's going to come, to Metaverses, of course, SANDBOX, knowing and being gamers, and they'll probably shift to that first investors, guy that were acquiring land and see if they make money at some point. We was the first movers. Now we have this new generation of gamers that will come and shift to those worlds. That will probably, it's also a generation movement, new generation thing that is coming. That is not the same mindset.
I agree. Yeah. I agree, and I think it reinforces the message that before, we were trying, or developers were trying to DeFi gaming, whereas now we are gamifying DeFi, if that makes sense. So there's a bit of a crossover now, if that makes sense. Yes. If I wasn't clear enough.
No.
Bertrand, Fabio, you mentioned your perspective of how you see Web 2 fusing with Web 3 in the future. What do you think, Bertrand, in 5-10 years away? How would that look like in terms of that convergence?
No, but I mean, yes, it's what I just said. It's like having this generation that are digital native, that are born with mobile internet, cryptos, blockchain. Everything sounds familiar for them. They're born with it. They already are gamers, because you see the huge success of Fortnite, of Roblox, and then they will shift to that 100% sure that it will shift to that new era when you can really own your asset, create your asset, sell your asset, being part of the whole ecosystem, and that the shift that we start seeing, but like in 5 years, 10 years from now, it's going to be like, for us, it's like we're going to have those kids, gamers, that are going to shift to this new economy and be really like part of it, and so I think it's really, the Web3 is really going to, it's not always like this and boom, and we're just in the middle of the curve, but it's going to go probably very high thanks to those gamer kids that are spending like crazy times playing, because at the end they want to have fun, so.
What are your thoughts about the cyclicality of the markets compared to your, I would assume that your user base is going to go up and down as the price moves, because there's an incentive to try the game to just make the money. There's a lot of speculation. How do you see that in the bear market, given that SANDBOX has already gone through one bear market?
We haven't seen, people going away. We have 5.5 million registered users, and we still have a traction. Of course, I think the Metaverse hype that we had like 2 years ago was just insanely crazy, so just back to normal, I would say. And now the trend is coming back, and the growth, we keep on having more and more players, more and more users, more and more partners coming, here, and so we see that as a long term, but it's definitely coming back now.
Okay, understood. Fabio, how do you approach investing into games in terms of IP? Right, because it's not the same if you're investing into the tooling, and a different thing if you're investing into each individual game. How do you approach the full gaming?
Yeah, gameplay. That's what will attract the gamers. Is there something unique about the gameplay? That's something we look for. We discuss with the team, and why they think it will onboard the next 100 million users, and it's the most difficult question, because from the gameplay you have to go then to the tokenomics, obviously, and how you issue your tokens and what kind of tokens you issue, and then you have to go back to the gameplay. Does it reconcile? And then how you build up this flywheel, as it were, where you need the right token mix to attract the right users, but then you need the right users to deploy the right tokenomics. And like I said, there can be a lot of corruption and distraction and people coming to use tokens not for gameplay or games, but for other type of speculation. So as an investor, we look at the fundamentals again of how we used to invest back in studios, gaming studios back then, but also being aware that there is a market sentiment. There are communities out there getting more and more hungry for value/wealth creation. And then we need to oscillate between the traditional investment approach in gaming with the more volatile and more exciting, obviously, part of Web3 gaming.
Understood. Bertrand, from your experience onboarding big brands into Web3 and gaming specifically, what has been your experience in terms of maybe the risk aversion, their perception of the crypto market? How has it been bringing people like Snoop Dogg, for example, here? How do you incentivize them, or do they come to you asking for this?
Depends, but most of the time I had to go to them.
Yeah.
But Snoop Dogg is an example that's different because his son was very involved. So called that, and he really pushed his father, like, this is the new thing, you have to do it, and he did not regret it. And so as I would say, back to normal right now, so now we have a little bit of background about what we've done so far. There've been experiences that so many different environments, so different brands and subjects, that brands and partners can see that we adapt to the DNA of the brand, that we do things that are relevant to them, and so now it's a little bit different because of this, as sometimes I talked about that already, but like one of the experiences that we've done was with Ledger.
Okay.
So at the end, it's a USB stick when you put your crypto inside. So what are you going to do? And we had this education journey for like everyone to have this quest when you can answer a question about what is blockchain, what is NFT, what is all this new thing. And we had it was very successful. Last for like a month. It was more than 550,000 people using it. The journey lasts more than 30 minutes, the quest.
Okay.
And 96% of those 550,000 people went till the end.
Yeah.
And so at the end of this quest, this journey, you understand what is it blockchain, what is NFTs, and why you need a ledger.
The full educational path.
Yes. So, and we try to be as close as possible to the DNA of each brand and of each partner. And it works. It works well.
Fantastic. Awesome insight. Thank you all so much. We ran out of time, unfortunately. Thank you all, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.